Well, hello my little dodgers. Welcome back to another video. Thank you so much for joining me. It means a lot. Now, are you one of those people who say tattoos don't hurt? You tell people, oh, I find it actually quite relaxing. Oh, I fall asleep. It's just so nice to get tattooed. Well, fuck you. Because people who are like this drive me effing insane. Tattoos are not easy. They bloody hurt. And I don't care what anyone says, I've never gotten a tattoo done and been like, oh my god, that was so relaxing, I gotta fall asleep, blah, 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 blah. No, you bloody psychopath, they hurt! So if you're like me and you are not one of those weird psychopaths who think tattoos don't hurt at all, this video is for you, because I'm gonna give you guys some tips on how to make your tattoos hurt less, how to make the session a little bit easier, and just overall get through it. So I'm gonna be stating some obvious things, but there's gonna be some tips and tricks in there that maybe you didn't know about before. So an obvious one is numbing cream. Now, controversial, I know, with a lot of tattoo artists, but I personally love tattoo numbing cream. I think it's bloody great. Now, numbing cream doesn't agree with everyone, that's the only thing. So anytime anyone wants to use numbing cream, I always recommend my client to use like a little bit beforehand, like do a little patch test just to see if they're allergic or not, because sometimes you can get really, really bad breakouts. Like I'm talking 3rd degree burns. So if you want to try numbing cream and want to try go down that path of using it, I really recommend doing a patch test before you go into it. Now, this is where the misconception goes into numbing cream, because a lot of people use it before their tattoo appointment, and I don't think that's how you optimize numbing cream. I learned this trick off another tattoo artist who did this to me, and honestly, it made my session 10 times easier. Like, it's probably the easiest session I've ever had. So when you put numbing cream on the skin, it tends to only typically last like 2-3 hours. Like most times for me anyway, it's only ever lasted the outlines. And then when the numbing cream wears off, it comes back and the pain is 10 times worse. So what I tell people if they're planning to use numbing cream, I tell them don't put anything on before they come into the session. Just bring the numbing cream with you, and what you're gonna do is halfway through the session, if you're getting line work done or whatever, put it on halfway through the session. And the reason behind this is because when you put numbing cream on the skin, when the skin is open, it's gonna seep into those wounds a little bit better. And for me and the clients I've tried on, the longevity of it just lasts a little bit longer, just because again, it's seeped into the skin. And if you think of it like this, outlines are obviously probably one of the worst parts of getting tattooed, but if you can just sit through that and then the other half would be completely fine, like barely feeling it or not even feeling it at all, I think that's a win. Because I always find with clients and like getting tattooed, coming towards the end of the session is always worse than the start. So if you can make it through the easier part at the start and then have the end of it being fine, you're slaying it, bitch. You're blading slaying. You're slaying it. You're absolutely slaying it. Like that is what you want to do when it comes to these things. You want to get through the half of the first part. Again, it's gonna be rough, but the end part, it's gonna be so much easier, and then that will just make things like the highlights easier. Oh, I tell you, I got tattooed for 10 hours and we put it through halfway through, and the 5 hours remaining was an absolute dream. Now these are probably obvious, but a lot of people don't actually know that this stuff affects your body. But honestly, the best thing I can do for anyone when they're getting a tattoo, I always recommend getting optimal sleep. Sleep is so important. Like why do people like try not to get a whole 8 hours of sleep? It's so important. Now this is coming from a personal insomniac, but I try at least. So if you're fully rested, your body is not gonna be like, you know, tensing as much. You're not gonna be like fatigued, and like you won't have that, like obviously you're gonna have adrenaline, but it might even last longer. I don't know. Don't go to me on that. Like adrenaline and all that stuff will kick in, but you won't feel as fatigued towards the end of the session if you're not getting a good night's sleep. And overall, again, when you're getting a good night's sleep, you're perky, you're joyous and everything. It's great. I always find when I get a good night's sleep, I'm ready for the day. You have more energy to like do your things throughout the day, and the same that goes towards getting tattooed. Because believe it or not, getting tattooed takes a lot out on your body. Like think of it this way, you're getting stabbed, your adrenaline's pumping, and then when you're tensing, obviously it's using a lot of energy, so you want to make sure you have a good amount of sleep. So sleep is so important and so vital. And obviously the less you're tensing, the less painful the tattoo is going to be. I think people have like this notion in their head that if they're tensing, you know, flexing their muscles, whatever, it really makes it easier because the muscles are harder or whatever, but it's complete opposite. If you're tensing your muscles, your body's going to be tense, you know, you're going to feel tense, and the pain is only going to be worse. So you need to try to relax as much as you can your tattoo session. So that's why sleep is so importante. Thirdly, please do not drink before getting a tattoo. Hangovers are already crap enough before you're getting stabbed. So why would you want to add the 2 and 2 together to equal a mess? I just don't get it. I've had loads of people in the past when I used to work in a walk-in studio who were just like off their face, or like, you know, drunk the day before and then came in hungover. One, you're gonna be bleeding more, which actually makes it harder for us to put the ink into the skin. So we might have to do more layers, we might have to go a little bit harder without destroying the skin, obviously. But genuinely just makes it a lot more difficult for us. And then if the tattoo doesn't heal well and then you have to go back in and tattoo it again, why would you do that to yourself? Just don't drink before a tattoo appointment. It's that simple. So I'm gonna get into a little bit of a nicher one now. I actually really recommend moisturizing and exfoliating your skin before a tattoo. Now, I don't necessarily think this is gonna make the biggest difference before getting your tattoo when it comes to pain. So if you have softer skin and like, you know, the dead skin cells aren't there, the ink of like the needle when you're tattooing is gonna go in a lot easier and a lot smoother. I always find with clients who have the most moisturized, you know, supple skin, the needle always goes in perfectly as opposed to people who have really dry skin, which makes sense because dry skin is just obviously like a build-up of skin, so it's going to be a little bit like more harder than someone who's exfoliating and moisturizing. So I think these steps are pretty vital when, you know, wanting to get a good tattoo, technique-wise, but also just for pain-wise. I think it makes it a lot easier. Now, a lot of tattoo artists will probably disagree with me against this, but I think taking painkillers with you is very, very important. Obviously, painkillers, depending on the ones, they are blood thinners, so naturally, like I said, it's kind of related to the same like thing when it comes to drinking alcohol or, you know, being hungover. You will bleed a little bit more, but I recommend people taking some painkillers, you know, halfway through the session. Again, if it's a very long session, you might bleed a little bit more, but it will make the session a lot easier for you, which is good. And it's not like you're gonna be gushing blood. You're not gonna be gushing. You might just drip a little bit more, but again, it's not too unmanageable for the tattoo artist. And if it is, tell them to fuck off because you're in pain. So this one goes out to all the people who are looking to get like, you know, massive tattoos or sit for like 10, 8 hours, 6 hours a day for a day session, whatever. Again, these are gonna be long days. They're gonna be painful. So taking all these tips into account will be helpful. But also, if you know yourself and your pain tolerance and you don't think you can sit that long, just ask your artist to break it into sessions. Like, they won't mind. Even if you can just sit through the outlines or whatever, just to get like enough done so the artist can return back to it and work on it and continue it. I think that's so much better because, again, I am really bad when it comes to pain. So I have broken up a few of my tattoos, you know, to make it easier for me. So yeah, if you can't sit for long sessions, just know that like you can always break it up. And if like, again, if the tattoo artist says no, red flag, run for the bloody hills. Another thing is style of the tattoos has a lot to play when it comes to pain, because I think people think like, oh, I'm getting, you know, like a black and gray tattoo versus a fine line, because I think people think like, oh, all tattoos feel the same, when in reality they don't. Like, for example, if you're getting a fine line tattoo versus a big full color tattoo, they're gonna feel completely different. Obviously the time has a lot to do with that, but also just the technique. Fine line, as in the name it says, it's very fine. It's like just line work, so it's gonna be not as abrasive as something like color, where there's gonna be no outlines and then shading and then you put the color on top and then the white, so it's a lot of layers. But as with fine line, you know, it takes a couple of minutes, it's very dainty, very delicate, and you're not pushing too hard into the skin. And that's what drives me up the bloody walls when people who get fine line tattoos go, oh, it didn't even hurt, like I barely felt it. Yeah, maybe because you're sitting down for 10 minutes and you got a little rose. Like, it's not the same as someone who's getting a full back piece, you know? So keeping that in mind, if you, again, you can't handle the pain, maybe look at the styles, maybe see like what you think you can handle, because something like a full color or, you know, a neo-traditional, traditional is obviously gonna be a little bit more intense. But at the end of the day, tattoos are not that bad. Like, they are painful, but they're like very doable. Like, again, I hate tattoo pain, but like I'm a head to toe covered them, so it can't be that bad. Another thing is keeping your blood sugars well and good while you're getting tattooed and keeping hydrated. You want those electrolytes, you want all those sugars to be going to your brain to keep you happy. And when you're hungry, like I find a lot of times when people don't eat, they get really cold and shivery, which obviously in turn is going to make it harder for us to tattoo, but also pain-wise, it's just not going to be good for you. So please, 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 Sabrina Carpenter, X3, please bring like, you know, food that's going to keep you, you know, it's going to give you sustenance, and it's going to, you know, keep your blood sugars going, and just overall like make it comfortable for you, because like you don't want to be sitting there starving, because like I don't know about you, but I'm sitting there starving, my tummy's rumbling, and then I just feel awkward because I'm like, oh, I hope the tattoo artist doesn't think I'm making a pocket like potion bowl in my stomach, you know what I mean? So yeah, make sure you bring food, sugar, drinks, everything that's going to like keep you hydrated and sustained throughout the day. Bringing a distraction along with you is always good as well. Like, obviously if you can chat and like get through the pain, I think talking or distracting yourself from it actually really helps. But if you're not a talker, bring something like, I don't know, an iPad or a book or like any type of game console, like a Nintendo Switch, whatever you use to like play at home or whatever you want to distract yourself. Because I think when you're just sitting there looking at the ceiling, it hurts way more, because all you can do is focus on the tattoo. So if you don't want to talk throughout the session, that's completely fine. Your tattoo artist is not going to kill you. Bring something along with you that's going to make you distracted and kind of help take away from the pain. Also, in terms of distracting yourself, being comfortable while getting tattooed plays a huge role into like, you know, pain level, painness of the tattoo. What am you saying? That's not even English. You know what I mean? Because think about it. If you're uncomfortable, again, your body body's gonna be tense, you're gonna tense up, which makes the tattoo more uncomfortable and painful. So bring something along with you. Bring like, I don't know, if you have something that comforts you, like a squishmallow, a toy, stress ball, whatever, blankets, pillows, don't worry, like that's totally fine. Again, you want to be comfortable while getting tattooed because again, it makes the pain less painful. And just to kind of reel it back to like tattoo helpers and tattoo numbing creams, there are creams and sprays you can get that kind of help when it comes to the pain mid tattoos and stuff. So there's sprays such as Bactine. It's not a complete numbing agent, but if you put it like on while the lines are open, it does help a lot with the pain. But there's also some tattoo bombs that help quite well as well. Like they're not numbing cream infused, but they have like stuff like CBD oil and stuff that kind of help ease with the pain. So look into that as well. But yeah, those are kind of my recommendations or tips, what you ever take from that love, I don't mind, on how to make your tattoo less painful, because tattoos don't need to hurt as much as they do. So if you take all this stuff into account, I guarantee you, your next tattoo will feel a lot better. But if it doesn't, don't blame me for it. I'm not an expert. Well, I am, I'm a tattoo artist, but I'm not scientifically a professor in medicine that will make this less painful for you, King Julian. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. As always, if you enjoyed this content, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, alertification for new videos on this platform, and all other fun things involved. And if you want to keep up with me on my socials, all my socials are linked here. Watch my fucking editor put on the other side after I finally got it right. I know he will. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye. What am I doing? Goodbye!